Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Now, before we get into that, we need to understand just basics about APIs. APIs are essentially utilized by some server or some databases or any kind of applications that hold some data which they want to share or receive. Now they are exposed either using RESTers or SAPE mechanisms. They're divided into these two categories. Are you guys aware about like web services in general like REST, SAPE? Yes, Rishi? Can someone just give me a brief difference? Just one liner between restaurants. What is the difference? I know. One of the difference is SOAP is structured and it only allows ML data format. And REST are more flexible. You can exchange the data in multiple formats. Correct? That is the core of this REST and SOAP web services. REST is completely modular and flexible with type of data that is flowing in and the structure and everything. Nothing is defined. You can control everything around it. But with SOAP kind of web services, it is a structured format about your data and is only restricted to XML profiles. That this level of information is primarily more than sufficient when you're working with integrations. What we're going to do, we are going to, rather than let's create a folder, one homers. Instead of using these complex connectors yet, let's start with the basic one with the HTTP client. Because if you learn to use HTTP client, there can be cases where you don't have the predefined connectors for your applications that you're connecting to. You can always go with HTTP client for more control. We'll practice using this and learn how everything works for it. Now, I picked up this API with it, even you guys can take it up later. It's like news APO. You can just note it down. All you need to do is just sign up. It's a free sign up and everything. Once the sign up is in, you will have your API key. You can click on Get API Key and you would get your API key. Nothing else about it. In their documentation, on the front page itself, you will see a couple of URLs and the response it returns. Let's pick this one top business headlines in us now. Now we have the URL of our API and we also see the API key. This is a sample one. Remember, it will change for each one of you with the key that you generate. Let's copy this and we can break it. Instead of this, let's just say equals to API key. And instead of country, let's just say CN. And for category, let's say category. We do not want it to be restricted to just us or business category and API key. We want it modular. We will take this. Now let's name it something News API. It is the HTTP client that we're going to configure. We'll configure the connection. Now we should never pass the whole URL into the connection part, just the base layer of it. Something like this, HTTP News API or V2. Always ensure you're passing just the base path, not the complete path suffix. You want to keep it more dealer and with parameters. If you pass it in connection, you cannot modify the URL. It will just be restricted to one single URL. And now here they send the API key directly in the URL. We do not have any authentication mechanism set up here. Otherwise, if that was an option, we would have set up the username and password here. If it was OAuth, we would have set it up here. Client ID, client, secret scope, access token, URL and everything. But since this just with API key, we would set up as none. Let's just say HTTP News API. Let's just save it. Again, it allows get and send. Since our action is to fetch the news, we would go with get action. Now we'll configure the operation part of it. Here we are saying that news headlines something meaningful. Now currently we don't need to define request profile type because as per this request, it's only a get action without any request body. They did not specify that we need to send any headers or any body. There's just a direct URL. We will not configure any of this information here. Response profile. We don't need to restrict it XML or JSON. Then we'll have to, insert our profile. We just want to leave it open, dynamic, keep it dynamic. Whatever value comes in, whatever data structure comes in, we'll just pick it up along. Again, we don't need to control this for now. type of content we are expecting. Because if we do that, we would be restricting it out. Otherwise, when you have your applications and everything at your organization level, you should be restricting it using the type of response profile you're expecting and pass along the exact profile. That if anything is changed in the structure, in case of text or something for data security and governance, it would throw up error immediately and not allow any data to come along. And also content type, then you will restrict using text XML or application XML accordingly. Again, written HTTP error says in case if the API is down from which you're fetching data, it would allow us to return the exact error codes and exact error message. We check mark. This followed redirect is for cause purpose allowing cross origin, resource thing. Basically, if it's redirecting to another internal API or something or some other third party application, you allow the redirects and basically follow it along. Now, if you look at it as per this curl command, there is no header or request body. We don't need to configure anything in request headers. Since there is this path suffix that we need to build to, we will enter all of this information resource path. Also, since there is not going to be any response headers or response headers subsequent requests, we will skip this for now. But it's essentially for whatever the response we get, we can store that information in a dynamic document property, which will be again then flowing along with your document. We don't have that here. Now, what are response headers? Sometimes once we fetch the data, immediately we are trying to send it to some other application. If there is a use case like that, then you can use the response headers of this as request headers for your next request. When you are doing some kind of lookup or something between 2-3 systems and they have this requirement where they need this information, headers and one of the repictions already sending it. In that case, it comes in handy. Now let's configure this one URL. Since we want to, set up the conditions on country, we will delete everything else. We'll just keep it like this. Top headlines. Question mark country equals to change the new item to CN. Country variable is replacement variable. Check mark enables us to pass dynamic values. We enable this. We come here, we paste the remaining URL which we have broken into pieces. Now, since you already entered CN, we'll skip it like this. Control X. Now we entered our resource path, we broke it into pieces. Wherever we wanted parameter value, we checked it. Markers is replacement variable. This enables us to dynamically pass values for this. Now we'll come back here. We'll go back to the parameters tab, click on the plus icon. We'll have all of them listed here. We'll say CN, that is our country. Let's just say for now, simply us. We'll come here, we will choose category. As per this example, category is business. Let's just enter it here. And as for the API key, let's just come here. Click on this, will be redirected to your key. For now, you can hard code it like this. But later we'll be changing all of this. This is for our initial test. And simple. Let's add a stop shape to test and see if we are able to receive the data. This would be our request. Executing the nectar ship. Getting parameter for position 1 as position 2 business position 3 API key. And this is how our URL got built. We can for the HTTP connector. You can come to connection data view, would have your actual data. And URL would be the URL that got formed here, using your connection base path and the resource path which we entered in the operations section. And using the parameters that we configured it, would it become something in this news, API, or we do top headlines country? Now just remember, you always need to remove the extra slash here because between your connection and your operation, it automatically adds the backslash. Let's click here and see what we can do. If I click on download, we look at it. We have our JSON. Just wait. Now let's play around with it a little further. Let's remove this. Let's skip the stop ship. Go back into our operation. Let's restrict it out further. We want to ensure whatever data we are receiving is restricted to this profile. We'll click on import, choose a JSON file. Rishi, can you please explain again how you generate? Because I missed it. Which part? Key generation. Key generation. Just a moment. Rishi, did you just uploaded the downloaded JSON profile? It will be copied and we don't need to create it manually. This is how we usually do it. We request data and we just use it here. If it's JSON, then manually create the profile. But we need to have the specification for their data type and other, if it's necessary, field or not, manually. That you will get from your business, always that information. It will be part of the functional requirement gathering and workshop. But we can just copy. Thank you, we always do that. Once they share the sample data about both source and target, we manually do not create our profiles because in reality there will be like 50 fields, 100 fields, 50 fields, and every each of it will have its own complexity. We always import it from the connection itself, basically. Thank you. Now about this, I don't know if it allows me to log out. If you just 1 second. If you open it, if you just go to this URL news API, it will have this option of get API key, do a sign up. It's a basic sign up. Once your sign up is done, you will have this with email ID. You can click on it and you will see your API key. Does it clear your doubt? Is it for news? Yes. This one is restricted to news API only. And now we have created this JSON by. First, what we did was simply downloaded the file which we received and clicked on import button for the JSON profile and we saved it. And here, this is how it got saved. Now let's see if it still works or it throws error. If it throws error, we will not bother configuring it for now. Looks like it worked. Let's just see it here. It will be in a C. We have this information and everything now. Now let's play around a little further with this. You do not want to just restrict it to, coming in here and modifying this information when you are running your integration from your deployed mode. You want this to be modular further. What you would do is you would come here, you would leave the input and everything is in the type instead of static. Yesterday, we were discussing a process property which allows you to change value from environment extensions. Once your process is deployed, we will create a process property named API News. We will add all those three here. Name it as C help text is country default value for now. Let's just pass as us in case of nothing. We'll pass it as CN. Then we had category and the default value. Let's just use business for now. And we had our apply key. Now if I keep it as string, it will be exposed. I'll change the data type for it to hidden. And in the default value, I'll pass my API key, which is this. Now it's encrypted and it cannot be seen by anyone. Now let's come back here. If you see, it got auto-populated with the help text country C. And now let's change this one as well. Go to type process property. Select our process property for category. Let's go with category and for API key. Let's go with process property. Click. Go to extensions using this third icon, process property. Click on 3 of them that it gets enabled. Now, previously, if you noticed, since we did not configure connections until yesterday, we did not have this option value as in extensions. Now we have this news API connection. Since you only have URL exposed, let's just enable it to play around. Since we did not have any operation level on properties, let's leave it like this for now. We'll click check. Everything is enabled. Click. Now let's save it. Now let's run test. Here, from this drop down as well, in test mode, you can configure things instead of us. Let's see what all values is allowed. Let's go to documentation. This is ISO. Let's just Google this list. Let's pick up for India. I think it should be INN. We'll just enter INN. See if it works. Now about my API key. As I was saying, since we chose the data to be hidden, it would not be visible ever to anyone. It will always be restricted. And since we entered the hill text, we could see what this label means. Usually in this hill text, we pass a sample value or name that for easy understanding as part of, like a best design practices. We do this. Now let's see if it works or not. Now, if you look at these logs, it was able to fetch all the required information from your process property. Here is your URL country. In business, API key looks like total result 0 status. Means a PI call was hit successfully, but they do not have any data. Let's go back. Let's try with some other country. Do you see the ease now of testing? Had we been there, we would have to go to our operation, then to the parameters, then double click, then start. Like 5, 6 clicks. Now we are just simple. We click on test icon. We edit the value. We click and just run the test. There is a use and benefit of environment extension in this process, properties. It saves you a lot of clicks and everything and keeps it simple. Let's see if we got data. There is no data. Looks like they only have it for us. Now let's go back since they only have it for us. We'll just run it for that only for now. We got back our data. Now let's see if we can perform some level of data transformations with this. Now all of that information is coming in a single file. I just want to split each of news article into individual records or documents rather than this whole batch. For that we will use simply data process. I'll just give some name as split articles that it makes sense. I'll click on split documents flat filer JSON. I choose the profile. There's business headlines. Now let's see on which one we will be performing the split. Now take a look at this and tell me on which one should I set which field should I set the split up on? Anyone wants to go ahead and answer it? Take a guess. Article. You're saying line 4. We will test with that first and see if it works. Any other guesses, anyone? You have same articles and then there is source and I think it's in another bracket than other and title articles, I believe. Let's try with articles and see if that works. We'll click on articles. Let's see. It looks like it did not work because here in the left pane, it will always show you the count. It did not split it. We still have everything. Any other guesses then? Which one should we try next? To understand that, look at the common design pattern in the JSON. If you see, articles is only coming in once. But this source is repeating, and with it, like rest, all follows like ID name author, and it closes and another source starts, something like that. You need to figure out on which field is it like repeating and starting the block again. That becomes your split element always. Let's see if that works or not. Let's see. Now if you see this split word, you got your source and each news individually. Whenever you are splitting a JSON in or XML JSON profile, always look for this field where your bracket opens in, and it's like, start of a pattern, and then the pattern repeats like if the bracket closes. Always check that. That field is always going to be your split field. Articles can never be your split field because it is parent to all this information. And you are not seeing any repetitive of this field again. Now we have this. Any questions? Part on the connection, part operation, part fetching the news or splitting it up. Take your time, understand it and ask me any questions. Can you please demonstrate how I can use dynamic document property or dynamic process property here? How we did that? How can I use like we have used only process property? How can we like dynamic process property or dynamic document property we can use? Since we do not have any data yet, we cannot use dynamic document property until the data is fetched. What we can do is we can use dynamic process property here rather. Let's just go for category. Instead of this, I'll simply select P and I'll say category. Now for this to work, I also need to give its value. Then I need to disconnect my start shape and pass it here using set properties. I would simply click on plus sign properties to set dynamic process property. I need to give its name and then the value. Since it's a static one, I'll click on business. It is configured now. Let's also enable this in extensions. Now, this is how it's done. First, before calling your connection, you configured your set properties that it can be utilized there. What you configured here in set property DPP, you are calling it here directly like this, using type as input, type as dynamic process property, passing along the exact same name, DPP underscore category. And that's how the value will be coming in. If you want to change the value, you can now change it from here also. But since we had already we're using the same value of business, let's click on and run test, see if it works much. We got the information. Is it clear how we use? We can use this now. At least the deep dynamic process property part. I'll come back later to dynamic document property a little later. We will do. We have set it to static. Will it work as dynamic? Like we have set its value to static. Can you repeat? We have set DPP value as static. Like we have set business as static. Will it work like dynamic? When I click on my test from my extensions, I can pass the value and here can take the dynamic value. Otherwise, if you want to complicate it or play around further, here again you can take process property. It will go back here. It will come back to this get rerouted. You know you're rerouting a process property instead of directly using it via dynamic process property and then configuring that dynamic process property here. At the end, your value would be coming from the configuration here and it would still work. Let's try and use route for conditional routing. Let's just connect it. Let's route it based on the area. Now for this route, we select our profile element. You can again choose a property Dynamic document property, process property, something on which you want to route. We will keep it based on the name. Source object ID. Click on. Click on plus. We will get this route values. We will do comparison. It allows us to match where car's regular expression and the regular equal, not equal, greater, less than. Let's copy one of the names. Let's add another one. Let's see if the conditional routing works. Are you able to see screen now, Oshi? Yes, I have rejoined. Let's see what is happening here in the route by name. It is extracting the information from this position. Parameter wanted found Seattle value. It is performing comparison. If the Seattle Times equals Hollywood Reporter, no. Then it's checking against Inside EVs, no. Then the second is Associated Press. It did not meet anything. Since it did not meet anything, it is routing it to default path. See, it came across here. If you look at this, the Hollywood Reporter, it found the match and it's routing to it. That's how the routing works. Always remember, the order is it will start with the first one for condition match. If it doesn't match, we'll go to second one, third one and how many ever you pass. In the end, it will go down the default path. Technically, design-wise, it would come like something like this. This would be the order of things. Now let's remove this. Let's go back and use something like a business rule. Let's use a simple one decision shape. Check it. First value would be our profile element. Let's see if they are passing ID. If ID is not being passed, we will reject it. If ID equals to blank, we pass it like this, click on. If ID is blank, we will allow it to fail. Looks like it found ID for few and few. It did not. It found ID for few ones which would be down the false path because we had set it up equal to. If we had kept it as not equal to, then they would have come down the true path. You always need to define your comparison also carefully or configure this accordingly. It is how this works. Now we want to again perform a combine. We have two options for it. We can either use data process or a message shape. Let's try using data process. We want to combine by ID essentially. We will go on combine documents. We will choose JSON. We will select this. Again, combine element would be source on which we had performed our split. Let's see if this works or not. Otherwise, we'll use the basic combine of message shape. If you look at it, your information is now combined. For the ones without IDs like this, that is how this works. Any questions on this? Now let's do some basic map transformation. Let's add a map shape. Here we are doing JSON too. Since it already exists, let's just use this here. We do not have a profile flat file for this yet. Let's create a random one. Let's add multiple elements. Let's add 5. Let's just say author. What else we can add from here? Let's add the title. Let's add URL to image. Let's add published at. Let's add content. That is our news. Now we want to use column headers initially for better understanding. Since we are building CSV file, let's select it as comma delimited. Let's save this. It brings us here. Let's perform basic mapping. Now I want to keep the author name in uppercase. String to upper function, I would use. I will take the mapping here. Bring it here. I just want to again use same function for the title as well. Let's use that. Now let's see. Let's do a concatenation for time zone. The limiter would be hyphen, not concatenation. Let's do a string append. Character to append would be sometimes. Let's do 60. We take this original string. We map the result something like this. Let's do mapping like this. Now what is URL to image? It is something like this. Let's do a direct mapping. Let's save this map. Come to a Win process. Click. Let's see the action here. Let's see. If you see, the mapping got completed. Author, it came in all capital letters. Again your title, it came in capital letters. Then you had your URL to image. Then you have your published at, which is somewhere around here. We appended -cst for the time zone thing. Then you had your regular content here. This is how you perform mapping on this. Any questions, Far? I have a question. Can you please move to the process? Here in the split articles, can I reset my DP? After this, you can reset by again using set properties. On each step, I can reset it. Yes? For dynamic document property, after a split, I can use that thing also. I got the document in the SN format. I can do that. Let's do that and see how it functions. Let's click on it. Let's say deep dynamic document property. Set it up author. Let's do that. Tap an author. Let's do this. Now we set up the property value. We extract it out from our profile. We have extracted this. We save it. Now we come into our map. Author, I don't want mapping from here. Let's remove this. I'll bring it here. I'll go to properties. I'll do get document property. I'll do get document property. I'll click on search icon. Here I'll select this. Here I'll select dep author. Then I'll click on. For each document, it will map the author based on the document ID. Let's see how it behaves if you are able to run test. Let's look at the output. Looks like it got it. Let's see it using. It looks like name changed. Let's search here across the document. We have this author. We got the information here in DP, author. It has picked up all the names you know, extracting profile element. For the document, and when its mapping came here exactly just for the document, it extracted the name. Rishi, when we are seeing like documents or result earlier, it is showing us a format view. Why it is not showing now? Is this we have not changed the text plane to text station where contain? No. It only works for your connection data thing. Yes, I'm asking about the same like in connection. We have set it to text plane, something like that. It will like work little differently with each shape. If like size exceeds. What do you say? 10 KB? It will not show up. Only up to 10 KB is allowed for that formatted document view. If I click on the step source data, it is not going to show. if the size exceeds 10 KB. If the size is under 10 KB, it will show us in this formatted view. That is the logic behind it. It's either allowed on connection data or size being under 10 KB. Essentially, either of these things has to satisfy. Then you get your formatted view. Any other questions? Not from my side machine. We'll wrap up this session here for today. Your task for Monday is to prepare for the assessment on whatever we have learned far. These process properties, flat file XXL, decision shape, business rule, all of this branch route, basic transformations, deploying it, extensions. We'll do an online assessment and we will keep a practice session, a practice assessment as well. Take your time. Just play around with all of this. Set up your connection to this. Here, go ahead. For the assessment, we will get to know about the platform or anything else. No, just this. Whatever we have learned, only that much. Nothing more. No, on which platform? The assessment will be. It will be some online in browser only. Windows do not need to set extra things on our system. No, nothing like that. This will give you the links. Open up those links and you can just fill in your answers. That's it. And how about the exercising thing, Rishi? And the exercise, it will be in your Boomi accounts. You will be given time of 50-20 minutes or half an hour. And once that is done, we'll verify if you were able to build it successfully or not. We'll do some basic integration, designing only. Is it possible? I don't know. It's feasible or not, but just asking or checking if we can have some document. Where all these requirements that we can. Similarly, we can just fence on at our end on the weekend that we can get to know. That how? What kind of exercises we are going to do like that? Any sample example or something if you have now. No, but let me build one basic sample one. It would be just basic MCQ like difference between process property and dynamic process property. Like process property allows for revision history, then it does not. It would be MCQ based on that. You need to just check. MCQ is fine, but I'm more concerned about the practical things. How? Project-wise, like what all other things can be come up. Like that. I was just trying to get an idea, basically. You'd be simply asked to connect to an API news, a PI or any other AP that would be shared URL and everything in the API key. Set up a business rule check where you have to match some condition. like if the data belongs to this country or not. For form map, transformation map, like only 4 or 5 fields. All that would be given. And just show the output, something like that. Very basic test. Got it? I thought it was like having some project or something that will take some inputs and like that. But I got it. It's a very basic one for now. We don't have a burden. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.